What many of you may or may not know is that I'm a stay-at-home dad, and as such, I build all of my projects at night or on the weekends. I'm trying to put out a video every week, and thus I need more time. So I struck a deal with the devil, as it were, my wife. We have a monthly allocated babysitter fund, and I'm taking all of that so that on a weekly basis I can have the babysitter here during the day for a few hours so I can knock some work out. Now, if you've ever made a deal with your significant other, you know that it's rarely one-sided. Or maybe it is, but in this case, it's pretty even. The third week of every month, I have to build whatever my wife wants. And while we're a little late this month, because of scheduling, it's time to pay the piper. So today, I'll be building a blanket ladder. A ladder for blankets. Okay, let's do it. The nominal dimensions of this board are 1 1/4 by 4 by 8 feet. But I'll always be honest with you, and it's actually only 1 3/16 by 3 1/2 by 8 feet. Set your miter saw to 18 degrees and we're going to cut about 3/4 of an inch off of the end of each board. Place your recently cut board on top of the second board, and we're going to use this as a guide for our next cut. Once each end is flush, make your mark. Next up, we're going to grab 2x2s and cut them down to 17 7/8 of an inch. I'm using scrap wood from a failed console table build, but if you don't have any failure scraps, you can buy 2x2s just about anywhere. Oh, and they're actually 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. So now you know. Set your Craig jig to accommodate 3/4 inch material, and we're going to use the B and the C slots on the jig to make 2 holes right next to each other. Each rung is going to be placed 10 3/4 of an inch apart. Because the rungs are 1.5 inches thick, we're going to make a mark at 10 3/4 and then another mark at 12 1/4 to accommodate for that width. And then I'm just going to follow it all the way down the board. The bottom rung is going to be more like 10 5/8 off of the bottom plank, but that's okay. Rachel will never know. Using a combination square, I'm just going to carry over my marks to the width of the board. And then I'm going to mark the center of the board, and I'm going to line that up with the center of the rung. This way, when I go to put the rung in place, I know exactly where it needs to be. We're going to do the same thing for the rungs. We're going to mark out the center line. That way we can line up our 2 center lines. I've gone years without using this Craig right angle clamp, but I always look at it when I go to the store. And then I look at the price tag and I'm like, screw that, not gonna get it today. In my last project, whenever I would glue something up, the piece would slip off of my mark, and it drove me absolutely insane. So I decided I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna give it a go. Grab 1 1/4 pocket screws, wood glue, your pocket hole drill bit, and get to it. It worked like a dream. No slippage, and I'm happy. I'm just gonna make my way down the line and do all 6 of the rungs. I don't know how I missed the mark there. I clearly marked it out. But Whatever, shut up. Rachel will never know. Glue the top of the rungs. I'm going to flip it over and secure it to the bottom plank. I'm using a couple of my extra long clamps to squeeze it together. I can't find anything ever. And when you know it, it was on my workbench all along. Use a wet rag to wipe off any excess glue. Stain doesn't really take to the glue. You can paint over glue, but you know, don't be so lazy. Oh, bad idea, not gonna do it. Grab your wood filler and we're going to fill in these holes. Going to liberally apply the first coat and then sand it down with some coarse sandpaper, and then do a second coat and then sand that down a second time. Once that's finished up, I'm going to throw on some paint. Once again, I'm using this Valspar chalky paint and it has a really nice finish. And I'm going to put 2 to 3 coats on the ladder.